What did it cost? It cost everything. Running a 22-inch precision rifle chambered in crispy George Washington-sized fun tickets is a lot like buying a semi-automatic saw. Does it make a whole lot of sense? But guess what? It doesn't have to. It's still fun. And guys, it gets the people going. There's nothing quite like burning 20 bucks in a few seconds with a gun designed for 1,000-yard engagements at targets 15 business feet away, you know. Rhythm with that tism. And who doesn't like a little Swiss cheese anyways? Hi, I'm Cody Curry, and I have autism. Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and this is 110 Sass Actual. It is an honor to be in your guys' presence. Muskets are back on the menu, friends, and this time, there ain't no tomfoolery. We're talking 22 inches of dimpled hot sauce and potatoes, baby. All that flat, dark earth, tactical drip, and Gucci parts, or whatever you lifted Tacoma drivers finance at 69% APR say on the internet gun groups with your unfired rifles. Yeah, we're on to you, friendo. JD's and Letterman, we are talking the military's very own Knights Armament M110A3, approximately 3 A's better than the original workhorse brought on board in 2007, about 95 times more gooder than the AR-15, and chambered in the FUD's nightmare fuel of 6.5 Creedmoor Kings. Let's dive in. So guys, the concept of an intermediate cartridge in a semi-automatic platform, it's absolutely nothing new. However, an AR-10 based dedicated sniper system for the US military definitely is. For decades, we have again and again just repurposed data tech and try and mold it into some sniper / force multiplier role. The problem of that is, however, you end up with a general purpose battle rifle that ultimately doesn't do anything well. I'm looking at you, M14. For literal decades, guys, the military had dumped millions and millions of dollars into platforms like the M1 Garand and M14, accurizing them, dropping odd and useless mounting systems on them, and fitting them into crazy heavy chassis that require a gallon of Loctite just to maintain their 3 MOA group size 0. Like, come on. It simply is just not ideal. I mean, we've known since the dawn of guns that volume of fire and fire superiority is crucial in gunfights, hence why we were the first army to adopt any sort of repeating and semi-automatic rifle on a massive scale. Reloading less and shooting more is most goodest. But it really wasn't until the very early 90s did America try and implement a designated rifle built around the position of sniping. In the 40s into early 60s, troops were still using a variant of the M1 Garand, the M1C and the M1D, with that goofy optic mounted over to the left side of the action. So your cheek weld really isn't a cheek weld, you're just kind of like, yeah, that looks good to me, and pull the trigger. Nuts. Then the M14 was adopted, but even with efforts throughout the Vietnam War to make it a force multiplying sniper rifle, the old Winchester bolt gun still ran supreme. It wasn't until the 90s did a select few special units start to dabble in purpose-built semi-automatic sniper rifles, and mostly Delta Force. In 1990, Reed Knight of Knights Manufacturing partnered with our second Lord and Savior, Eugene Stoner, and crafted a battle implement that would undoubtedly change the way our military approached the role of sniper. And as you can see here, this is the very first SR25 ever made, serial number 0001. Unfortunately, it took until the early 2000s in the global war on terror to really get the attention of Big Army that they were missing a key element in small arms inventory. So the Mark 11 was already being used on a relatively wide scale and getting raving reviews about its durability, accuracy, and additional volume of fire over a bolt action gun. But it was typically reserved for more elite units with better funding, like the 75th Ranger Battalion, Delta Force, Green Berets, Navy SEALs. Fast forward to 2007, for the most part, all intermediate caliber cartridge sniper rifles were being replaced by the Knights Armament M110, and it is still in service today, nearly 20 years later, and isn't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. The M110 and its variations have seen conflicts across the globe by countries like Poland, Mexico, Georgia, Ukraine, Romania, Peru, Turkey, and there's like a dozen more. That's kind of wild if you really think about it. So it's here to stay, and it's a wildly successful platform. Fast forward to today, we have exactly what you see here, the M110A3 variant. NSWC Crane Division had ordered over $10 million worth of A3 platforms to convert their existing SR25 platforms in stock, and it has seen tremendous success. mostly attributed to its accuracy and reliability in harsh conditions, but also in innovations and continuous improvements on an already successful platform that's serving very well. Now with the A3, the most major difference from essentially any other semi-auto sniper rifle ever used by our military, well, pretty much all of them, it's not a 30 caliber gun. It's not a 30-06. It's not a 308. It's not even a 300 Win Mag like the Mark 13s. Not gonna lie, we have an interesting obsession with the 30 caliber bullet. But anyways, the M110A3 utilizes a rather new 6.5 Creedmoor cartridge. I say new because in the grand scheme of firearms history, it's not in its infantile state, but it's probably like in its terrible twos, I would say. Anyways, this is a huge deal. Guys, minus the Barrett 50 cal and the 338 Lapua, that's already fielded in extremely small numbers. Anyways, this is the first major deviation in intermediate cartridges that's not a 30 cal. If you're just getting into guns, this probably won't make much sense to you, but you literally could not get on the internet in the early 2010s without having to sift through dozens and dozens of boomer versus the entire freaking world on 308 versus 6.5 Creedmoor debates. So guys, this was the early stage of the internet wars, and bro, people were ruthless. There wasn't a zuck to keep folks in line, you know, like there is today. It was way worse than a modern warfare lobby. There was no art to the trolling and burns. Bro, they were straight going for the throats back then. It was wild times. And guys, literally everything was fine until they killed that gorilla. R.I.P. Harambe. Anyways, but back to the topic at hand. The military adopting the 6.5 Creed is a huge deal, and now SOCCOM has started their very own trials for a mid-range gas gun, sniper, and assault variant. The MRGG trials. The sniper variant is a 22-inch 6.5 Creed gun to excel at distance beyond the 308 platform. And the winner's already been selected for that. So SOCCOM is going to the 6.5 Creedmoor over the 308. The assault role is a 14.5-inch 6.5 Creedmoor, just a general purpose dual role combat carbine that's supposed to be capable of a broad range of roles, you know, from making hits at 800 meters to clearing out rooms. I believe the jury is still out on that one. I don't think they've decided that yet, so the military is starting to take the 6.5 cartridge very seriously and putting 30 cal anything in the resting home with Grampy. Okay, history class is over. Let's talk about the gun itself. What we have here is a 22-inch barrel. She is a long girl. But what's interesting is modern can technology has come a very long way, and we're getting incredible performance out of cans that are so much smaller than they used to be. This platform here with the CQB can, the overall length is actually less than an original M110, which is rad because its performance is outstanding to the original and coming in a smaller package. The 22-inch barrel is dimpled for weight savings. You have these absolutely gorgeous and beautiful little dimples all the way from the rear to the front. Just behind the gas block is where they stop. It's a very heavy contour barrel here, and the dimpling shaves off roughly almost a pound off this gun, which is crazy impressive because any sniper system without a pencil barrel that has a drastic POI shift after a single mag is gonna be a heavy girl. There's just no way to get around it. Shoot, my M110 weighs in at 18 pounds fully loaded with an optic and bipod. That's not exactly what you'd call a highly mobile platform. The M110A3 stripped is right around 10 pounds, so they shaved nearly 4 pounds off the gun while making it more capable. It's a very impressive feat. Now there's an all-new rail system on the URX6. Well, not necessarily all new, it still features M-LOK, and from the exterior, it kind of looks the same as the URX4, but under the hood is what counts. So we've lost the QD flush cups on the rail. Those were mounted into it and integrated into it. We've lost those, but they do provide to you for free a QD mount system that attaches to the M-LOK, giving the user the choice of where they like it most. If they want it all the way further out or all the way at the rear. This allows for an all-new barrel nut design, however, that's much more rigid and better suited for the weapon system. Now the gun comes with a very nice 2-port brake that makes recoil feel like it's a heavy 223. It's fantastic. However, I cannot suggest and advise you enough to wear some ear pro if you're gonna run just the brake. Brother, this bad Larry is violent. Even with the muzzle further away than pretty much any other gun that I own. It'll give that noggin a real good rattle in the brain. Actually, scratch that. You should wake up every morning with a cup of coffee and one mag without any ear pro. That'll get those brain juices flowing. Follow me for more recipes, guys. So the 2-port brake can utilize also as a mounting system for any Knights Armament QDC can, as well as acting as a sacrificial baffle in your can. So it's a win-win. You get free prescription coffee on steroids and saves your can. Super neat. Now, The lower is your standard semi-ambidextrous Knights lower they've used for the past couple decades, really. You have your ambi bolt release, safety, and mag release. No ambi bolt catch, however. Now, I will say they do have a completely new lower system that is 100% ambi, meaning it has the bolt catch on the right side, right next to the bolt release. It's very similar to LMT's system, however, we probably won't be seeing this for quite some time. I'm calling it now, boys. 2027 is going to be our year. We have a slightly new bolt carrier. It's pretty much identical from the outside looking in, minus the firing pin. It's spring-loaded in the carrier and is there to help with like overpressure ammo or something like that. I knew it at one point, I swear, but that was like 100 guns ago and things just start to get a little fuzzy. You guys will let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's there for overpressure ammo so they're not popping primers or something. I can't remember. Now, let's talk about something very important, the ballistics of this gun. That's what's most impressive, really. Now, I'm a big fan of Burger hybrid bullets, even from my early days of hand loading, shooting bench before PRS style matches were even popular. We're talking Bieber haircuts going around. That was cool. Anyways, Burgers have always had a very consistent weight variation and overall length. I really like their 130 grain Burger hybrids because I shoot my 14.56 gun a lot more than I shoot this 22 inch and enjoy that extra muzzle velocity. However, they really agree out of both of my 6.5 gas guns. 140s, they do fantastic as well. Now, out of the M110A3, it's 2762 with the 130s, it's 2710 with the 140s. That's around 60 degrees. That's pretty fair. You could definitely push that a lot more with a little effort and some hand loading, but you watched the video, right, guys? I ain't got time for that. Now, side by side on a warm, sunny day, 140 grain Sierra Match King out of an M110A3 is going to run right at 2710 feet per second out of this gun here. Now, you can compare the ballistics to the legacy M110 side by side running the 30 cal 175 grain pills at 2600 feet per second. So, listen up because this is where it gets really interesting. At 100 yards, you have a faster traveling bullet, but a touch less energy on the target. However, your soft target is really unlikely to feel the difference. And there's no doubt they're going to be having a real bad day regardless. Now, throughout the entire bullet path, the 6.5 Creed retains much more velocity, which is great. You know how steel targets don't like high muzzle velocity? Well, neither does literally anything else. Like, for example, soft tissue and body armor. But where it gets really fun is right at that 400 yard mark. You see, the energy is essentially identical, except we have a faster traveling bullet and a much higher ballistic coefficient. That's a fancy word for how well a bullet defies Newton's laws of gravity or whatever. But seriously, this means at 400 yards, we have a faster traveling bullet with the same energy as the 308, but it's going to be less affected by atmospheric conditions, which means 10 miles per hour of wind is going to push the 6.5 bullet less than the 308. Humidity isn't going to have as great of an impact, so on and so on. This is a huge win, especially when we step out to say 1,000 yards. With a 308, we have a bullet that could be an entire foot to 2 feet left of point of impact with the same wind speed as the 6.5 Creedmoor. The 6.5 is still going faster and is supersonic with more energy and has dropped nearly 6 feet less than the 308. Meanwhile, the 308 is about to go transonic in the next few yards past 1,000 and becomes unstable, which means it becomes essentially unpredictable in point of impact once the bullet starts tumbling. Meanwhile, if a shooter does their part in reading the atmospheric conditions and pulling the trigger with a 6.5, we aren't going transonic until 1,300 yards, which means you can put that bullet where you need it to. So all around, you have a much better bullet. It has more energy at extended ranges, and it has more velocity, all while shooting flatter and much less wind. This is a huge win, and it weighs less with noticeably less recoil. It simply makes more sense. The only con against 6.5 Creed versus a 308, especially when you're talking on the military scale, is barrel life. Now, the Knights rates their barrels anywhere between 5 to 7, possibly 8,000 rounds. It's going to depend on firing schedule. If you're me, it might be a lot less. Let's be real here. But 308, yeah, they can last 10,000 rounds, but I'm not going to lie. Are you guys going to spend that much money on ammo? I mean, I might, but I don't know. The average shooter probably won't. And nowadays, 6.5, the prices come down so drastically. It's roughly 75 to 80 cents a round shipped for the cheaper 140 grain ammo. The same quality bulk ammo out of 308 is usually like 5 to 10 cents less per round. So it's not a huge difference, but guys, it's not a massive one either. Now, let's talk about accuracy on this gun. Guys, I am not the greatest sniper guy ever. I never will claim to be. 1 MOA is really just the gold standard for any shooter to achieve. At 600 yards, a 1 MOA shooter with a good weapon that shoots 1 MOA, if you can call the wind correctly, you will hit an IPSC 100% of the time. It's an actual science thing. Look it up. It's real. Anything less than that is going to be great. I'm happy to report this gun groups .61 MOA, 10 shot groups at 200 yards with Berger hybrids. That's very, very good. I'm a pretty okay shooter, guys, but there's tons of folks out there who could do a ton better than me. So I don't know what this thing's capable of. Maybe that's the limit. Maybe it's a lot better. But one thing I do need to add, and it's very interesting, at 100 yards, my shot groups are bigger than most of my shot groups between 2 to like 600, which is, you know, probably an issue on my end, but I don't experience that with really any of my other rifles. So I'd like to add that it's right around 0.75 to 0. MOA at 100 yards. No matter what I do, I simply can't tighten those up. But move it back and those groups, they start to tighten up to that 0.61 mark. It's pretty interesting, right? Maybe it's me, maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know, but personally, I don't think I really care with this gun because I'm gonna hit 100% of my inch size targets within 100 yards. Well, if I do my part, that is. I suppose that's good enough for government work, but it's something interesting. I wanted to point it out there. I don't know if it's a flaw with just this weapon, but I mean, I don't know if you can even call it a flaw because maybe it's me, maybe I've got the optics zoomed in too much. I have no idea, but gentlemen, I think we have a wrap here on the M110A3, brother. This is a sweet rifle. It is a freaking laser beam. Making dingers at 1,000 yards, it's absolutely gravy. You guys seen that video, it's 800 yards. You've seen where those shots are hitting. They're right on top of each other. It's extremely soft shooting. It's gassed incredibly well, and it's light. It handles well enough, in my opinion, that if you wanted to take this can off here and just throw a red dot on it, it'd be just like an old M1 Grand M14 G3 FAL, whatever. Just send it because it's the same dang size, but it's more capable. So, until next time, friends, say it with me, run your gun and not your mouth.